You've been conned into believing all these things that are not true about yourself. And one of the biggest points of confusion you will have is, am I a good person or am I a bad person? And you'll go back and forth between those two things all the time. And then you'll be worried about, like, oh, wait, is somebody else seeing me as a bad person? Does this person like me? Oh, I don't think they like me very much. I must be a bad person. I must have said something wrong or done something wrong. So you're on top of yourself the way your narcissistic parent was on top of you, criticizing you, blaming you, shaming you, guilting you. And you'll do the same thing. Well, you're turning that programming. And this is so important to understand. You've been programmed a very specific way to be in service to them. But those programming carries things like, I'm not good enough. I never get it right. No matter how hard I try, I fail. I'm unlovable. I'm a bad person. All these programs are running in you. And then that perception that you have is skewed towards the programs. But the good news is you can release the program, you can release the perception and shift your perception so that you're seeing through eyes of truth, because you've been really disconnected from the truth of who you really are.
This podcast is for the soul who knows there is more, the one who's been carrying it all for far too long. If you're ready to let go of old stories, to stop replaying the past and start living from your truth, you're in the right place. This is your moment to release the noise and reconnect to what's real. Welcome to Baggage Begun, Healing Hearts and Minds. I'm Tami Mahmali. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Baggage Begun, Healing Hearts and Minds. Today I'm excited to have Dr. Meg Haworth with us. She is a very special psychologist, holistic chef, and a best-selling author who helps adult children of narcissists heal and become icons, independent, confident, original, and naturally themselves. That's wow. So Meg created the whole personal integration technique. This is a powerful method that helps release old wounds, patterns, and illness by healing emotional roots deep in the body. I'm really excited to talk to her today. She has been featured on NBC, the Huffington Post, Fox 11, and more, and her work touches so many people deeply. I got to meet her years ago. I was working with her and she was phenomenal. And I decided to invite her here because there was a calling. Like every time I will see her name, it will be calling my name to bring her here when I'm in a different period of my life. So, hi, Matt. Hello.
Hi, it's so nice to see you. And when you emailed me and said, hey, can you be on my podcast? My heart just went, whoa, I'm so excited for you and who you've become over the years and how you're helping people heal. I mean, you've always been a healer in all the different ways you express yourself. But it's really beautiful to watch your transformation and who you are now. Yeah.
I'm really honored. I met you 7 years ago. I was in a different place, totally different. It was before COVID, and I
Yeah.
was just getting to be in my body and know who I am. I remember I going to find the clothes that I like, to a woman that was all about designing your colors and what's good for your energy.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I was always so connected energy, and through this place, I met a friend that introduced me to you. So we are all interconnected. And I remember I used to walk around with scarves, and through working with you, somehow released this throat chakra. And as a result, I was able to present myself, be more vulnerable, and show myself to the world. And I think I have feeling that your story, your personal story, can touch so many people because I believe healing begins with a part of ourselves we used to hide, but when we reclaim them, we can become our truth. So, Matt, what was your story or turning point in your own healing journey that led you to the work that you do today?
Oh boy. It's kind of a long one, but I'll try to keep it short. So I was sick all throughout my 20s, and I was in and out of doctor's offices getting one diagnosis after the next. I had over a dozen diagnoses. I had things like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic depression. I would be sometimes in bed for 2 weeks at a time on painkillers and muscle relaxers, antidepressants. I mean, it was like I was truly suffering in my 20s. It's a time of your life where you should be out there enjoying the world. And I did my best, but still, I was a wreck, especially internally. And so I started first, and this is how I became a chef, actually. I started first by going to a chiropractor who helped me with these severe muscle spasms that I would have from scoliosis in my upper back. And because I thought, oh, that's the problem. It's all physical, right? So she introduced me to yoga, meditation, energy medicine. She just opened up this whole world for me. And the nutritionist, between her and the nutritionist and the massage therapist I was going to, I became exponentially better in a very short amount of time. And there was nothing that had been provided for me in Western medicine that created that experience. I was just getting worse and worse. I was actually getting diagnoses from the meds I was on. So it was really spiraling out of control. And so when I got introduced to holistic medicine and to, just that you're a holistic system, you're mental, emotional, physical, energetic, and spiritual. You're not broken down into these parts. I mean, we break ourselves down into that to understand them, but you're all one unit. So let's look at all the different parts of the unit. And so eventually what happened as I got through, all the physical healing that I thought was the problem, I had so much more emotional baggage still going on. I was high anxiety. I was fearful all the time. I was jealous. I was sad. I was scared. I was really mired in these emotions, and shame was a huge one. I was just really enveloped by a lot of shame and guilt. And so I started to learn about mind-body medicine and how what you think and what you feel affects your physical body. And then I also was really interested in metaphysics because I was having all these spiritual and intuitive experiences I'd had my whole life. And I didn't know how to explain them. I was just afraid of them. And so, like dreams, that would come true just as they had in the dream. And so I decided, I want to study all of this. And I just got obsessed. And so I ended up understanding that because you're a holistic system, and the energy system, which is the most neglected part of the self, I believe, really is where the core of healing happens. That's what I really discovered when I got into my transpersonal psychology PhD program. I started to really understand that my history of abuse, because I had been sexually abused, physically abused, narcissistically abused by a parent, just all these types of abuse. I'd been through so much trauma. And I had no idea that the trauma I went through was connected to my illnesses and to the emotional overload, the empathy overload that I would feel for people, and not feel for myself. Empathy was reserved for everyone else, but I was always tuning into the negative energies because I was just so overwhelmed by them. I was full of that. My energy system was full of negative emotional responses. Yeah. So
That's like a miracle. I call these people that can transform themselves, the people who bring miracles to us. Because if you can do that, I can do that. The other women can do that.
yeah.
Um, so I know that when we met, I remember your story about the something that happened as a lightning. Can you tell us a little bit? Because I remember I was shocked by that, but then it helped me when I needed to come out of the closet and bring my gift.
Mhm.
Remember your story and tell, oh, doesn't matter what we went through. I might have things that I can offer and help other people, guide them. So what was, and I think that might be your turning point, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That might be what?
Turning point for you.
Oh my gosh, it was one of the many. There was the one in my 20s, which was a major turning point because it got me into the work that I do now.
Uh-huh.
But even bigger than that was 11 years ago. Actually, I just celebrated the anniversary on Sunday, the 27th of July. 11 years ago, I was struck by lightning on Venice Beach, California. And that moment, it took me out of the game as a private chef. And I had been working with celebrities for like 12 years, I think, at that point. And I was really successful in that work. It was really hard on my body, but but I also had this PhD, and I was like, why am I in these people's kitchens working for them? I wanted to put it all together somehow, but I wasn't quite sure how. And the lightning bolt is what got me to do it. so, so that's where I put everything together in the programs that I have now.
It's interesting. The incident happened on the 27, 7, 11. Those are like master numbers. You know, karma. 27 is the number of karma. Year, it was a day 9, a day 7, sorry, which is highest spirituality. To somehow bring this accident that's really scary, to take you to the place that God wanted you to be, so you can help heal other people. Does it make
Yeah,
sense?
completely. Yeah. And at the time, I knew, like when I was in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, I knew that it was, and I thought of it as this is an initiation into your next level. And so just, go with that. I was amazed by it, honestly. It was painful and it was a really hard recovery physically, um, and emotionally. But oh my gosh, it was honestly one of the best things that happened, because it did, like you said, it's just God was like, here you go. It's time. It's time to move in this direction. And so that's when I really started to put it out there that I help people heal with food and the power of the mind and heart. And then eventually I started to really focus on parental narcissistic abuse, for a lot of reasons, but it was real intuition, just people started calling me for it. I had been working in this field in the in the treatment room with clients for years and years on narcissism, but I hadn't really publicly put it out there. And so now that's my niche. That's what I really focus on, is parental narcissistic abuse and how it affects the entire holistic system.
I so glad that we're touching on it. I don't think I ever brought someone to our podcast to talk about narcissists. Yet I get so many questions about that, because when someone grows up in that kind of environment, they question themselves because of the emotional neglect, gaslighting, or manipulation. It leaves a deep imprint, yet you question yourself.
Yeah.
How does that early trauma affect their sense of self, their ability to trust themselves as adults, and actually live fully, like their truth?
Yeah, it affects everything. Because if you think about, a narcissistic parent requires you to focus on them. It's all about them. They see you as an extension of them. You're not an individual in their mind. And so what that means, you won't get nurtured as an individual unless you have a talent that they approve of. But then still won't be about you. It'll be about the talent and expanding the talent, and it'll be about them and what they get from your talent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it seems like it's mostly using, exploiting you, not really nurturing you.
Completely. It is. And those are the best words to put to it. And when you think about your own parent as exploiting you for their own gain, they're using you. That's precisely what they're doing. And they may use it in all kinds of ways, and to serve them, to make, they may use you emotionally to support their emotional life. They all do that to try you. So you're responsible for them. You feel this as a child, like, I need to take care of my parent because they can't emotionally take care of themselves. You get this message, and so you are always trying to make them feel better. You're trying to keep them from blowing up at you or anyone else in the household. And so you feel like, okay, this is up to me. I need to make the peace as much as I possibly can. And this happens mostly for the scapegoated children, and the invisible children, and sometimes even the enabling children. There's very specific, it's mind-blowing to me that all over the planet, every single culture in the world has narcissistic people in it, and that will have this disorder, and the exact same traits are the same all throughout the world.
Absolutely. It's like a pattern that it's still okay to do.
Yeah.
And is it the reason that a lot of children becoming the adult too soon because they're actually parenting their parents? Not only that, they learn that love is conditional because if a parent exploit you or nurture you only if you do that for me,
Yep.
it, it gives the message that love is conditional.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the hallmarks of being raised by a narcissistic parent is you will feel like, well, they'll only give me attention or quote unquote love, which isn't really love, if I do this or I do that for them, if I show up this way for them. But again, it's about them. And so that robs you of your own self worth, self identity, self trust, self expression. If you just think about all of the areas, it affects every area of the body, and it'll affect the physical body as well. That kind of abuse is like, I talk about it as one cut at a time. You have thousands of paper cuts, you're an open wound, you know?
I love that paper cut because I know what you're talking about. It's not a knife, it's pepper cutting you, but still there is a cut. You burn quietly. And I think,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, I noticed that there are a lot of somatic pain. When I do the healing with the hypnosis, a lot of people come to me after they go to doctor and the doctor say I can't see anything, if it's a heartache, if it's body aches,
Yeah.
they go to all the doctors, they do the MRI, the CT scan, and then they come to me and we find out that there are somatic pain because they didn't treat the emotional and
Yeah.
mental symptoms earlier on. Only the
Yeah. Yeah, it's the emotional root cause. And, therapy, mental and emotional therapy can help that a lot. But until you're actually going into the body with the somatic type of therapy and really getting to how you're holding that in your system, it's you're missing a big link. And I think it's one of the most important links there is, because now we know, from the book, The Body Keeps the Score, and all that work that Dr. Bessel van der Kolk has done, that there is an indelible connection between what happened to you, the traumas that you went through, and the physical body, and how your body's expressing those traumas. And anybody who's been through trauma knows they'll feel like you get triggered and you'll feel your body tensing up and you'll feel your nervous system revving, and now you can't sleep. You'll feel all these different, you might get chronic headaches, like now you've got migraines, stomach aches. I see digestive issues a lot, and that was one of my biggest problems: ulcers, irritable bowel syndrome. And so my life's work has really been about the body, how it's a metaphor for your experience, and how you're holding these energies in the energy system. And that's the body, because you can't separate the energy system from the body until you pass on to the next place. And then you take it with you. So take care of it while you're here, is how I look at it.
take care of it before you get the heart attack or the pain, or
Yeah.
take care of it before you become like have all these diseases or ailments that people don't find the cures because it's inside your cells. Your body remembers that. And thank God that you're doing this work with adult children of narcissists. I know you called it icons, a term that really struck me when I first heard it, for someone who might be wondering if this applied to them. How would you describe what it means to be an ACON? How you said ACON?
Yeah, I call it ACON. I call us ACONs. And an ACON, adult child of a narcissist, is somebody who's been conned. You've been conned into believing all these things that are not true about yourself. And one of the biggest points of confusion you will have is, am I a good person or am I a bad person? And you'll go back and forth between those two things all the time. And then you'll be worried about, like, oh, wait, is somebody else seeing me as a bad person? Does this person like me? Oh, I don't think they like me very much. I must be a bad person. I must have said something wrong or done something wrong. So you're on top of yourself the way your narcissistic parent was on top of you, criticizing you, blaming you, shaming you, guilting you. And you'll do the same thing. Well, you're turning that programming, and this is so important to understand. You've been programmed a very specific way to be in service to them. But the programming carries things like, I'm not good enough. I never get it right, no matter how hard I try. I fail. I'm unlovable. I'm a bad person. All these programs are running in you. And then that perception that you have is skewed towards the programs. But the good news is you can release the program, you can release the perception and shift your perception so that you're seeing through eyes of truth, because you've been really disconnected from the truth of who you really are.
And a lot of times from hearing stories and knowing how it feels like, I know that people leave their body. A lot of children of narcissists, they learn from early on when it got really abusive and uncomfortable to leave their body, not to stay there. So sometimes because they doubt themselves, they're not sure what's wrong with me, constantly feeling shame and criticizing themselves. I know
Yeah.
I'm curious because you told me that you created the whole person integration technique to help people release those deep emotional roots. Can you explain in simple words how it works and why it's different from traditional therapy?
Yeah, absolutely. Whole person integration technique is a somatic therapeutic technique that helps you understand the emotions. Because if you think about emotions and how much power and charge they have, especially those negative emotions, if you had a narcissistic parent, you'll be used to a lot of rage. They use rage to control you. They'll just blow up and then you go silent. But what are you doing with your anger, your fear, your sadness, your reaction to their rage, to their jealousy, shame, guilt, envy, um, uh, rage, and anger? Those six emotions are the major ones that drive them and that they put on you. So they're basically projecting those emotions onto you. You're having your emotional reaction to it. So now we've got these emotions and they're big. And let's take shame, for instance, since narcissism is a shame driven disorder and that's what they're putting on you. And you feel ashamed all the time because that's shame says, I'm a bad person, right? Like, oh, it's terrible to feel that and to think that about yourself and to think that your own parent thinks that about you. It's just incredibly confusing. So if somebody comes to me and they're carrying a lot of shame and we do the technique together, we're going to talk to the shame itself. So when we work together, your eyes are closed, you're completely aware. It's not a hypnotic state, but you're in a space of having full awareness and connection to the body. Because then that's what we do is we go in and we look at where is it being held in the body, how is the body expressing it, and then you think, oh, it's in my stomach. Oh, and I have ulcers, I have all these digestive issues. Okay, so you start to then identify that the shame is connected to the body in the stomach, and then it's connected to my illnesses or my persistent symptoms that they are saying is a mystery illness. There's nothing wrong with you. It's all in your mind. It's all in your entire system, mental, emotional, physical, and energetic. And so we would work with the shame itself. And what this does is it takes you outside of your own story and makes you look at the story of the shame. What is it thinking, feeling, and believing? What is your psyche sending you as a metaphor or a picture of what that shame looks like? So we work with the shame. We get to understand it, its holistic connections to your own system. And then we do a whole process to help you release it. And then once you get to the point where you're just like, I don't want that in my body. I see what it's doing to me. I don't want it anymore. So it's a real process of letting go, of self forgiveness, of self releaseness. I love the word releaseness because you're releasing yourself from the toxicity of that emotion. and how it's been just revving in your system. And if you think about the energy system and the nervous system, they're one and the same. And so we're working with the energy system specifically, and it helps to calm the nervous system, which is a really beautiful experience. So at the end of the technique, when we work together, we're actually bringing in the emotions you want to experience, and that's where we work, is towards embodying peace, love, joy, kindness, caring, all these qualities that you inherently have, but you've been completely divided from.
I'm excited. How long usually this process takes? Because people, when you tell them about therapy, they think, "Oh my God, it's gonna take me like 5 years. I don't want to start." How long? Because those emotions, living like that, it's really sad. It's painful emotion. And these
Yeah.
people went through so much pain. And in our time, old generation, it was we kept everything like a secret. These days, like people, the girls, the boys are coming out. They're talking about. There are books about that. But in our times, I don't think even the people knew what narcissist meant. It wasn't in. And today, we are more aware of it. We're talking about it. It's known.
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. It doesn't take you decades of therapy. I did 15 years of traditional psychotherapy before I found what I do now, and I rapidly healed. So when I work with somebody, I work in my Iconic Me one-on-one therapeutic coaching program, and I have a 3-month package and a 6-month package. And what I find for most is it takes usually about 6 months. But it depends on where you are in your healing journey, how much work you've done on yourself, how rapidly you move through the process. So a lot of people will do the 3 months, but you think about 3 months for a lifetime, I'll see exponential changes. I will see people's depression diagnosis redacted, no longer clinically depressed. I've seen Hashimoto's healed, no longer Hashimoto's, and I've seen autoimmune disease in my own body, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, mixed connective tissue disease, depression, all of those things no longer. I still have to, watch my diet and, really treat myself with a lot of love and respect. But that's part of the process, is learning how to love and respect yourself, to give yourself the love and respect that you never received from your narcissistic parent. So you can get a lot in those 3 to 6 months. And then people will have ongoing work with me. Sometimes they'll come back as needed when they're going through another experience of, something big happened in their life. Maybe their narcissistic parent passed away, or they're aging and they're much more demanding than they ever were. And they just need help with, releasing what's coming up for them now. So I always say there's not an end point in healing. It's, as long as you're in a body, the fun never stops. And so there's always something for us to work through. But the amount of time that it takes becomes compressed when you do energy work, when you do anything that includes the human energy system in the body. So those somatic psychotherapeutic techniques are profoundly rapid. They just work really quickly. So, and it's empowering to go through that and then to watch other people get to have that healing process. It's amazing.
Amazing. Thank you for the clarity. I always like to know. I know the healing. It's like until we're alive, we're gonna continue working on it. And the clarity that it's not forever, it's 3 to 6 months, and I'm gonna have some release of this energy and feel better. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. I think it's very important when we know where we start and there is a timeline. I know people not like before, they're impatient sometimes about therapy going forever. So I think if someone needs the healing, it's so worth it because it opens for you new doors to understand more about yourself and just heal those parts that felt broken. You're always whole, but when you go through this childhood, you always question your self worth. So thank
Yeah.
you for that. One thing I really love is how you include food. You said that again, I need to go back and check my food. How can the way we nourish our bodies support our emotional healing, especially for survivors?
Yeah. Oh, food. That's one of my favorite parts. I love to eat and I love food that tastes really, really good. So, if you think about energy, we've been talking about energy and emotional energy and how emotional energy just brings you down, right? They've actually discovered the frequency, sound waves of emotions and measured them. But if you think about food, food is this thing that nourishes your physical body. Food also has energy, frequency, and vibration, and people have measured that scientifically as well. And so if you think about the real foods from the earth that are organic, you know, if you can afford it, do your very best. But when you add fruits and vegetables, lots of vegetables, I always say, high quality proteins that are farmed with care, that are not farmed with all of these herbicides, pesticides, fungicides. That's the real big problem that we have here in the US and why so many people are sick, especially with cancer, autoimmune diseases, when it comes to the food supply, obesity, all of those things. So much of it's being caused by the poisons in the food, the plastics, all of those things. So it's really looking at food and environment, how the food is farmed. You are what your food eats. So if you look into like, well, what's your chicken eating? I only will eat pasture raised eggs that are fed organic feed. And then you can tell the difference just looking at the yolks. It's like this bright orange and it tastes so much better and it's so much more nutritious for the body. So yeah, so think about food as energy and vibration and wanting to put that in the system to support your body while you're going through that emotional release work. And that's something I combine in my Iconic Me program is the nutrition piece along with the emotional.
I feel the difference. Lately, in the last year, I stopped the animal products, and I see the difference. Even when with the eggs, like you said, to make sure they're organic, pasteurized, I feel the difference, and it's the mind-body connections. Even what the words that I'm using, the energy that I'm bringing, it's all energy and vibration to support our emotions, emotional
Yeah.
energy. I see the difference in my client that cleaning the food. So I think it's something to pay attention.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing it up. I know you like to talk about food. Me too.
Yeah.
For someone listening who's just beginning to connect their pain to childhood trauma, because a lot of people don't make the connection. We are trained to respect and love our parents. So what's one loving step they can take to begin their healing journey? What would you suggest to them?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we do at first, especially when we have a narcissistic parent, is we want to learn and understand like this disorder and how it's affected them and how that affects us. And we can spend a lot of time like on videos and watching, and I have a YouTube channel and I have lots of videos on there, but trying to understand narcissism itself. But what happens is you're still focusing on that narcissist in your life. And this goes for parents and for mates. And so the next step after focusing on is to really get help. After focusing on, like how they are, why they're the way they are, and then you really identifying, well, what's wrong? What has that done to me? How has that hurt me, hurt my body, my mind, my soul, my life, my confidence, all of these parts of the self. And that's where the healing is really working with the ways that you've been wounded mentally, emotionally, energetically, and physically. And then seek help. It's really, really important. I couldn't have gotten to where I am without having gone through extensive therapy and help. And I think it lies in making a decision. And that decision, it needs to be this full body decision of, I am not doing my life this way anymore. It's like you draw that line in the sand. This is my boundary. I am done. I'm going to do whatever it takes to bring healing to my entire life. And that's the kind of attitude I took every single time when I was struck by lightning. And I had all these injuries, and I was on disability, and I was there in my apartment alone. I couldn't carry a bottle of water up the stairs. I had to walk, like learn how to walk again, I could walk, but for any distance, I had to like get myself moving again. It was a hard thing to come back from on all levels because your physical, creates that. But I decided, it was the decision. I just sat in that decision. I'm like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to heal this. I'm going to find as many natural means as possible. If I have to go to a Western doctor, I will. I'll do what I need to do to get well. And I did that. And that's the thing that I've committed to. And food. Food, of course, was a big part of that journey to wellness. And I continue to make adjustments as things happen in my life and in my body.
And it shows the transformation. Wow, I will never guess that you went through so much, and I'm sorry for that. And it just shows that if you can heal, I can heal too. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
message to all of us to make the choice to agree to choose ourselves and to set
Yeah.
healthy boundaries and to step into our power. Because when we get hurt, when we are not in our power, when we're trying to do things for other people, to please others, to seek love in the wrong places, unfortunately, sometimes it's our parents, our family members. But there is hope, and I want to thank you for being today. Wow, that was such a deep, powerful conversation, Matt. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Thank you for my heart, for your wisdom, your journey, your truth. It's a gift for today. And to everyone listening, if you found yourself nodding along or feeling a little lighter after this episode, you can keep learning from Dr. Mag and check out her YouTube channel, Instagram, or visit it's meghaworth.com and all the links in the show notes. Is there anywhere else they can find you?
LinkedIn, TikTok. Yeah, I'm on pretty much all the major platforms. So
I'm gonna put your website so they can go and find all the gifts you can share. So thank you so much. And to the listeners, if you're ready also to release your own emotional baggage, mental and emotional baggage, and step into the powerful you, you know where you to find me. Until next time, sending you love and light, and see you next week. Thank you, Meg. Thank you so much.
thank you, Tammy.
If you're curious and want to dive deeper, you are in the right space. I ask you to look within for all the things that you want to do, be, and have. Join me at the Baggage Begun Healing Hearts and Minds podcast with new episodes every Wednesday as we discover the path towards healing and transformation.